The emergency alarm tore through the corridors of the exploration vessel Concordia, its piercing cry drowned only by the groan of overstressed metal. Crimson warning lights pulsed across the walls as the entire ship shuddered under a force no one could explain. Dr. Marcus Chen slammed a hand against the bulkhead to keep his footing, forcing himself onward as the deck lurched beneath him. His pulse thundered in his ears, and sweat blurred his vision, despite the icy air rushing through the ventilation system. Only minutes earlier, the Concordia had been conducting a routine survey of a mysterious energy anomaly drifting between the stars. Then the impossible happened. The anomaly had responded. It hadn't merely surrounded the ship. It had reached out, seized it like a living thing, and refused to let go. Now every second brought another violent jolt, and with each one, Marcus feared the vessel was being dragged toward something from which no one had ever returned, pulling the Concordia into its center. Now systems were failing all over the ship. Marcus burst through the medical bay doors. The sight that met him made his stomach drop. 3 crew members lay on the tables, all badly hurt. The worst was Zara Sess, a Vakes engineer. Her people looked almost human, but their bones were made of a crystal-like material that could shatter easily. Blood seeped through cracks in her pale blue skin. Captain Thorne, a tall centurion with 4 arms, stood nearby. His face was grim. "The medical computer is down," he said. "The energy field fried most of our systems." Marcus looked around the room. Dr. Velcris, the ship's head doctor, stood frozen near one of the other patients. The Zakari doctor's tentacles twitched nervously. Next to him, Dr. Keth Prime's mechanical parts sparked and clicked as the android tried to reboot his systems. "Well," Captain Thorne asked, "can you help them?" Dr. Velker shook his head. "Without the computer, we cannot operate. The conditions are too dangerous, too unpredictable. We might make things worse." Marcus stared at Zara. Her breathing was shallow, and her crystal bones showed dark fractures through her translucent skin. If no one helped her soon, she would die. "I can try," Marcus said quietly. The other doctors looked at him with surprise. Dr. Velcris made a sound like a snort. "You human medicine is too primitive, too emotional. You will kill her." Captain Thorne's 4 eyes studied Marcus. The Centurion had never hidden his doubts about having humans on his ship. Humans were new to space travel. Most aliens thought they were too unstable, too feeling-based to be good doctors. "The computer has all our medical knowledge," Dr. Keith Prime said, his voice flat and mechanical. "Without it, precise surgery is impossible." Marcus stepped closer to Zara. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment. They were a strange silver color like mirrors. Fear showed in them before they closed again. "She's dying," Marcus said simply. "I have to try." Captain Thorne was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Do it." The other doctors moved away, clearly thinking this was a mistake. Marcus ignored them. He washed his hands and put on gloves. His hands were shaking slightly, which made Dr. Velcris make another disapproving sound. "See? He is too emotional, too unstable," the Zakari doctor said. Marcus began to examine Zara carefully. Without the computer scanners, he had to use his hands to feel for injuries. This was how human doctors had worked for thousands of years before machines took over. As his fingers moved over Zara's skin, he felt something strange. The crystal bones under her skin were cracked, but there were also tiny fractures that seemed almost too small to see. The other doctors would have missed these completely. Marcus's hands continued to shake as he worked, but he noticed something odd. When his trembling fingers touched the small cracks, he could feel exactly how deep they went. It was like his shaking hands were picking up vibrations that steady hands would miss. He began to clean Zara's wounds. Her blood was a pale blue color, almost clear. As he worked, he found himself talking to her, even though she was unconscious. "It's going to be okay," he whispered. "I'm going to fix this." Dr. Velcris made an annoyed noise, talking to unconscious patients. This is exactly why humans are not good doctors. Too emotional. But Marcus kept talking. Something inside him said it was important. As he spoke, he noticed that Zara's breathing became a little steadier. The worst injury was near her eye. A piece of metal had cut deep into the crystal bone of her skull. Marcus knew he had to remove it carefully, or she could lose her sight forever. He picked up a pair of surgical pliers. His hands were still shaking, but now he understood that this might actually help him. The tiny movements let him feel things that steady hands could not. Slowly, carefully, he began to remove the metal fragment. Sweat dripped down his face as he worked. His heart beat fast, and he could feel stress hormones flooding his body. The other doctors would see this as weakness, but Marcus had learned to work with his fear, not against it. As he pulled out the piece of metal, Zara's eyes suddenly opened. She looked directly at him. For a moment, Marcus was afraid he had hurt her. His hands slipped slightly as their eyes met. But then, something amazing happened. Zara's face changed. Her mouth curved upward, and what looked like a smile. This was strange, because Vake's people never smiled. They did not show emotions on their faces the way humans did. "Did you see that?" Marcus asked, looking around the room. The other doctors were busy with their own patients and had not noticed. Captain Thorne was checking on ship repairs through his communicator. Marcus looked back at Zara. Her eyes were closed again, but that smile was still there, very faint. It made him feel warm inside, like he had done something important. He continued working on her wounds. Each time his hands shook or slipped slightly, he felt more connected to what he was doing. It was as if his imperfect human body was talking to her broken crystal bones in a language that machines could not speak. When he finished cleaning the last wound, Marcus began to sew up the cuts in her skin. His stitches were not as perfectly straight as a machine would make them. Dr. Velcris watched from across the room and shook his head. "Sloppy work," the Zakari doctor muttered. "No precision." But Marcus was not trying to be perfect. He was trying to help Zara heal. As he worked, he let his emotions guide him. When he felt worried about a particular stitch, he made it a little tighter. When he sensed that her skin needed more time to heal, he left the stitches a little loose. By the time he finished, 3 hours had passed. Marcus was exhausted. His shirt was soaked with sweat, and his hands ached from the careful work. Zara's breathing was much stronger now. The color had returned to her pale blue skin. Marcus checked her pulse and found it steady and strong. "She will live," he announced to the room. Dr. Velcris looked surprised. "Impossible. Without proper scans, without computer guidance, success should not be possible." But Zara was clearly getting better. As Marcus watched, her eyes opened again. This time, she looked around the room, fully awake. When her gaze met his, that strange smile appeared again. "Thank you," she whispered in her soft, musical voice. Marcus smiled back. "You're welcome." As he cleaned up his medical tools, Marcus thought about what had happened. His shaking hands, his emotions, his imperfect stitches, everything the other doctors saw as weakness, had somehow helped him save Zara's life. Maybe human medicine was not as primitive as everyone thought. Maybe there was something important in the way humans felt their way through problems instead of just calculating solutions. Marcus looked at Zara one more time. She was sitting up now, touching the bandages on her face. When she saw him looking, she smiled again. That smile would change everything. 3 days after the accident, Marcus noticed something strange about Zara. She was sitting in the medical bay for her daily checkup, but she was not acting like a normal Valix person. Valix people were known throughout the galaxy for being completely logical. They never showed emotions. They solved problems by thinking through every possibility and choosing the most efficient answer. But Zara was different now. "The engine repair could be done faster if we tried a new approach," she told Marcus while he checked her bandages. "I have been thinking about it, and I feel like there might be a better way." Marcus stopped what he was doing. "You feel?" Zara looked confused. "Yes, I feel. Is that the right word? It is like having an idea but warmer, like the idea has a color." This was very strange. Felix people did not describe their thoughts with words like warm or color. They used precise mathematical terms. Marcus finished checking her wounds. They were healing perfectly, better than he had expected. The cuts were closing cleanly, and even the fractures in her crystal bones were mending faster than normal. "How do you feel physically?" Marcus asked. "Strong. Very strong, but also different. Like my mind has more rooms in it than before." Zara touched the bandage near her eye. "When you fixed me, something changed inside my head." Marcus wrote notes in her medical file. He was starting to think that his treatment had done more than just heal her body. Later that day, Marcus checked on the other patients from the accident. 2 crew members had been treated by Dr. Velcris and Dr. Keth Prime. They were healing, but slowly. Both complained of pain and tiredness. "The nanobots are working perfectly," Dr. Velcris said proudly. "Every cell is being repaired with exact precision. No mistakes, no inefficiency." But Marcus noticed that these patients looked pale and weak. Their wounds were closing, but their bodies seemed tired, like they were fighting the healing process instead of working with it. Why are they healing so slowly? Marcus asked. Dr. Keth Prime's mechanical parts word, as he thought. Healing rate is within normal parameters, 3.7% improvement per day, exactly as calculated. Marcus looked at Zara, who was walking around the medical bay full of energy. She had healed much faster than 3.7% per day. In fact, she seemed healthier now than before the accident. That afternoon, Marcus was called to the engine room. Zara had requested his help with something. When he arrived, he found her staring at a broken power coupling that the engineering team had been unable to fix. I think I know what is wrong, she said. But it is not logical. It is just a feeling. The chief engineer, a robotic being called Unit 7, made a grinding noise that sounded like disapproval. Feelings are not useful for engineering problems. We need calculations and measurements. But Zara ignored him. She reached into the power coupling and made a small adjustment. Immediately, the lights around them grew brighter. How did you know to do that? Marcus asked. I felt where the energy wanted to flow, Zara said simply, like the electricity was telling me where it was stuck. Unit 7's optical sensors flashed with surprise. That repair should not have worked. The computer simulation showed it was impossible. Marcus was beginning to understand something important. Zara's new ability to feel things was not just emotional. She was somehow sensing things that logical analysis missed. That evening, Marcus visited the ship's science lab. Dr. Helios, the xenobiologist, was a tall, thin being with large eyes and pale green skin. He studied how different species evolved and adapted. I need your help understanding something, Marcus said. He explained what was happening with Zara. Dr. Helios listened carefully. Interesting. Most species in the galaxy have evolved beyond emotional responses. We removed them through genetic improvements thousands of years ago. Removed them? Why? The emotions were seen as primitive, inefficient. They made beings act unpredictably. Dr. Helios pulled up some data on his computer. But humans still have strong emotional systems. Your species never evolved past them. Marcus felt a little offended. We're not primitive. No, Dr. Helios said quickly. I am beginning to think the opposite might be true. What if emotions are not primitive? What if they are advanced? Dr. Helios showed Marcus brain scans from different species. Look at this. Phalanx brains use only 40% of their neural pathways. Zachary brains use 35%. Human brains use 78%. Why? Because emotions require many brain connections. Fear, love, anger, joy. They all create complex chemical reactions that connect different parts of the brain. When other species removed emotions, they also removed those connections. Marcus stared at the brain scans. So, when I treated Zara, your stress hormones, your emotional state, even your shaking hands, they were all releasing chemicals. When you touched her, some of those chemicals entered her system through skin contact, and that woke up parts of her brain that had been sleeping. Exactly. Zara's people still have the old neural pathways, but they have been inactive for thousands of years. Your human biochemistry acted like a key, unlocking abilities her species had forgotten they possessed. This was incredible. Marcus thought about how his hands had slipped while treating Zara, how nervous he had been, how much he had cared about saving her life. All of those weaknesses had actually helped her. There's something else, Dr. Helios continued. I analyzed blood samples from all the patients. The ones treated by our logical doctors show standard healing, but Zara's blood shows something amazing. He pointed to readings on his screen. Her immune system is 300% more active than normal. Her brain is creating new neural connections every hour, and her creativity levels are off the charts. Creativity levels. The ability to see new solutions, to think in ways that pure logic cannot. It is a type of intelligence that most species lost long ago. Marcus thought about Zara fixing the power coupling by feeling where the energy wanted to flow. That was creativity, not calculation. Dr. Helios, what would happen if more beings were treated with human medical techniques? The xenobiologist's large eyes grew even wider. I do not know, but I think it could change everything. Your emotional healing methods might be able to awaken dormant abilities in any species. That night, Marcus could not sleep. He kept thinking about what Dr. Helios had told him. If human emotions and imperfect medical techniques could help other species evolve, then everything the galaxy believed about medicine was wrong. He went to check on Zara one more time. She was awake, sitting by the window, looking out at the stars. "Cannot sleep either?" she asked, smiling that new smile of hers. "Too much to think about," Marcus said. "Yes. I have been thinking too about how I feel now compared to before. Before the accident, my thoughts were like straight lines. Now they are like rivers flowing in curves and finding new paths." Marcus sat down next to her. "Are you happy about the change?" Zara considered this happy. "Yes, I think that is what this feeling is called. I had read about happiness in human books, but I never understood it before. Now I do." She looked at Marcus with gratitude in her silver eyes. "You gave me something wonderful when you healed me. You gave me the ability to feel." Marcus smiled back. He was beginning to realize that maybe human medicine was not primitive at all. Maybe it was the most advanced healing system in the galaxy. 2 weeks after Zara's recovery, disaster struck the Concordia again. This time it was not an accident, it was a plague. The first victim was Engineer Chorus, a chameleon with purple scales. He collapsed in the hallway, his eyes staring at nothing. When Dr. Velcries examined him, they found something terrifying. His logical brain centers are shutting down. Dr. Velcries announced to the medical team, "This appears to be some kind of virus that attacks rational thinking." Within hours, more crew members fell ill. The virus spread quickly through the ship's air system. Affected beings could not think clearly. They wandered the halls, confused and lost. Marcus watched in horror as the medical bay filled with victims. Dr. Velcries and Dr. Keth Prime worked frantically, but their treatments were not working. "The virus targets the brain areas responsible for logical processing," Dr. Keth Prime reported. "All affected species show the same pattern: complete shutdown of analytical thinking." Captain Thorne, who had managed to avoid infection so far, called an emergency meeting. His forearms moved nervously as he spoke. "At this rate, we will lose the entire crew within days. Our best doctors cannot find a cure. Do any of you have suggestions?" Marcus raised his hand slowly. "Captain, I have noticed something. The virus affects logical brain centers, but humans are not getting as sick." This was true. A few humans on the ship had caught the virus, but their symptoms were much milder. They felt confused for a few hours, then recovered completely. "Explain," Captain Thorne demanded. Marcus thought carefully about how to explain his theory. "Human brains are different. We do not rely only on logical thinking. We also use emotional thinking, creative thinking, intuitive thinking. If the virus attacks logical centers, we have backup systems." Dr. Velcries made his usual disapproving sound. "Emotional thinking is not real thinking. It is just random neural firing." "But what if it is not random?" Marcus asked. "What if emotional thinking is another type of intelligence? What if humans survive because we never lost our emotional backup systems?" Dr. Helios, who had been studying the virus samples, looked up from his microscope. "Dr. Chen might be correct. The virus specifically targets neural pathways associated with pure logical processing. Humans have much more diverse brain activity." Marcus had an idea, but he knew it would sound crazy. "Captain, I want to try treating the sick crew members with human medical techniques." "What do you mean?" Captain Thorne asked. "I want to use emotional healing, physical touch, stress, hormone transfer, the same techniques I used on Zara. Maybe I can help their brains develop resistance to the virus." The room went quiet. Dr. Velcries' tentacles twitched with agitation. "This is madness. Emotional healing is not real medicine." But Zara, who had been listening from the corner of the room, stepped forward. "Captain, I volunteered to help Dr. Chen. My brain changed after his treatment. Maybe we can help others change too." Dr. Helios nodded slowly. "The theory has merit. If human emotional biochemistry can activate dormant neural pathways, it might help patients develop immunity to a virus that only attacks logical pathways." Captain Thorne looked around the room at his dying crew. "Very well, Dr. Chen. You have permission to try your methods, but only on volunteers." Marcus felt his heart race with excitement and fear. This was his chance to prove that human medicine was valuable. He started with Chorus, the first victim. The Chimeon was sitting in a chair, staring blankly ahead. Marcus sat next to him and began to examine him carefully, using his hands instead of machines. As he worked, Marcus let himself feel worried about Chorus. He let stress hormones flow through his system. His hands shook slightly as he touched Chorus's skin. "What are you doing?" Dr. Velcries asked, watching suspiciously. I am letting my emotional system communicate with his, Marcus explained. Humans release chemicals when we care about someone. These chemicals can affect other beings through skin contact. Marcus continued the treatment for 2 hours. He talked to Chorus even though the Timelean could not respond. He held his hand and let his own fear for Chorus's life show in his touch. Slowly, something began to change. Chorus's eyes started to focus. His purple scales, which had been dull and gray, began to regain their color. "Chorus," Marcus said softly. "Can you hear me?" Chorus blinked several times. Then, for the first time since getting sick, he spoke. "Dr. Chen, what happened to me?" The room erupted in surprised voices. Dr. Velcris stared in shock. Even Dr. Keth Prime's mechanical parts made surprised beeping sounds. "The virus," Marcus explained. "But I think you are getting better." Marcus ran some tests on Chorus. The Timelean's logical brain centers were still damaged by the virus, but other parts of his brain were becoming more active, parts that had been dormant before. "I feel different," Chorus said. "Like my thoughts have new colors. Is this what emotions feel like?" Over the next few days, Marcus treated more volunteers. Each time, he used the same technique: emotional healing through physical contact and stress hormone transfer. Each time it worked. The treated patients did not just recover from the virus. Like Zara, they developed new abilities. They could think creatively, solve problems intuitively, and sense things that logical analysis missed. Dr. Helios was fascinated by the results. "Dr. Chen, you are not just curing a disease. You are helping these beings evolve." Evolve? Yes. For thousands of years, most species have used only logical thinking. But logical thinking alone is limited. It can only work with information it already has. Emotional and creative thinking can find new information, new possibilities. Marcus watched his patients work together to solve ship problems that had puzzled the crew for months. Chorus and Zara had figured out how to increase engine efficiency by 40%. 2 other patients had found a way to strengthen the ship's shields using techniques that made no logical sense, but worked perfectly. "They are using whole-brain thinking," Dr. Helios explained. "Logic plus emotion plus creativity plus intuition. It is the most advanced form of intelligence in the galaxy, and humans never lost it." But not everyone was happy about these changes. Dr. Velris complained constantly about the corruption of proper medicine. Some crew members were afraid of the emotional changes in their colleagues. "This is dangerous," Dr. Velcris argued during a medical staff meeting. "Emotions make beings unpredictable, illogical. It could destroy the order of galactic civilization." Marcus understood his concerns, but he had seen the results. "Dr. Velcris, look at the patients. They are healthier, smarter, and happier than before. How is that dangerous?" "Because happiness is not the goal of medicine. Efficiency is the goal. Logical function is the goal." "But what if we have been wrong about that?" Marcus asked. "What if the goal of medicine should be to help beings reach their full potential?" Captain Thorne, who had been listening to the debate, made a decision. "Dr. Chen's methods work. The crew is recovering, and ship operations are more efficient than ever. We will continue with emotional healing treatments." Dr. Velcris left the meeting in anger, but Marcus did not care. He had proven that human medicine was not primitive. It was advanced beyond anything the galaxy had seen. That night, Marcus found Zara in the observation deck, looking out at the stars with several other patients who had received emotional healing. "Dr. Chen," she said, smiling, that wonderful smile. "We have been talking about what you have given us. It is not just health. It is not just new ways of thinking. You have given us the ability to feel wonder." She pointed at the stars. "Before, when I looked at space, I saw distances and calculations. Now I see beauty. I see mystery. I see infinite possibilities." Marcus looked out at the same stars. He had always felt wonder when he looked at the galaxy. Now he realized that this feeling, this emotional response to beauty and mystery, might be humanity's greatest gift to the universe. "Thank you," Zara said quietly, "for showing us how to be whole." The message came through on the ship's communication system 3 days after Marcus had cured the last virus patient. Captain Thorne's face was grim as he called the senior staff to the bridge. "We have a problem," the captain announced. "I just received a transmission from the Galactic Medical Consortium. They have heard about Dr. Chen's healing methods." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. The Galactic Medical Consortium controlled all medical practice across known space. They set the rules for what treatments were allowed and what methods were considered acceptable. What did they say? Marcus asked. Captain Thorne activated the main screen. A tall, imposing figure appeared. Supreme Medical Director Zuth Kala, Orion, with metal implants covering half his face. His voice was cold and emotionless. Captain Thorne, we have received disturbing reports about unauthorized medical experiments aboard your vessel. The use of primitive emotional healing techniques is strictly forbidden under Galactic Medical Code 7.3.9. The transmission continued. Dr. Marcus Chen is to be detained immediately and transported to Xerion Prime for medical tribunal. Any crew members who have been subjected to emotional healing treatments must be quarantined and treated for psychological contamination. Marcus felt his blood run cold. Psychological contamination. Dr. Helios stepped forward. The consortium believes that emotions are a disease. Dr. Chen, they think you have infected your patients with dangerous human instability. Captain Thorne switched off the transmission. They are sending a fleet to intercept us. 5 medical enforcement ships armed with neural suppression weapons. Neural suppression? Zara asked. She had been listening from the back of the bridge along with several other patients Marcus had treated. Weapons that shut down emotional brain centers. Dr. Helios explained sadly. If they use those on you, you will return to your previous logical-only state. All the growth, all the new abilities you have gained, they will be erased. Marcus looked around the bridge at the crew members he had helped heal. Their faces showed fear, but also determination. These beings had experienced emotional thinking for the first time in their species' history. They did not want to give it up. Captain Zara said, "We cannot let them take Dr. Chen, and we cannot let them suppress our new abilities." "I agree," said Chorus, standing beside her. "For the first time in my life, I can feel joy, wonder, creativity. I will not let them take that away." But Captain Thorne shook his head. "We cannot fight the consortium. They have the power to destroy entire civilizations. If we resist, they will hunt us across the galaxy." Dr. Velcris, who had been quiet during this discussion, suddenly spoke up. "Captain, I have been thinking about this situation. Perhaps there is another option." Everyone turned to look at the Zakari doctor. His tentacles moved nervously as he spoke. "I have been wrong about Dr. Chen's methods," Dr. Velcris admitted. "I have seen the results. The patients are not sick or contaminated. They are improved, enhanced, more capable than they were before." This was shocking. Dr. Velcris had been Marcus's strongest critic. "What are you suggesting?" Captain Thorne asked. "We should not run from the consortium. We should make them understand what Dr. Chen has discovered. We should show them that emotional healing is not primitive. It is advanced." Marcus stared at Dr. Velcris. "You want to broadcast our findings to the galaxy?" "Yes. Before they capture us, we send out a complete medical report. We show other species what emotional healing can do. We let them decide for themselves whether this is contamination or evolution." Captain Thorne considered this. "If we broadcast our findings, the consortium will see it as an act of rebellion." "They will destroy us maybe," said Dr. Velcris. "But they cannot destroy an idea once it spreads. If we can reach enough people, if we can show them the truth, the consortium will lose their power to suppress this knowledge." Zara stepped forward. "I volunteer to be part of the broadcast. I will tell other Valix what emotional healing has done for me. I will show them that we can be more than just logical machines." One by one, the other healed patients volunteered to join the broadcast. They wanted to share their experiences with their home worlds. Marcus felt overwhelmed by their support. "Are you sure about this? If we do this, there is no going back. The consortium will never stop hunting us." "Dr. Chen," Chorus said, his purple scales bright with emotion. "You gave us the ability to feel hope. Now we want to give that gift to others." Captain Thorne made his decision. "We will prepare the broadcast. Dr. Chen, I need you to create a complete medical report showing exactly how emotional healing works. Dr. Helios, I need scientific data proving the benefits. Everyone else prepare personal testimonies." For the next 18 hours, the crew worked frantically to prepare their message to the galaxy. Marcus wrote detailed explanations of his healing techniques. Dr. Helios provided brain scans showing the neural changes in treated patients. Zara and the others recorded videos describing their transformations. Meanwhile, the consortium fleet grew closer. Long-range scanners showed 5 massive ships approaching fast. "Broadcast ready," announced Communications Officer Terra, a young human with nervous energy. "Do it." Captain Thorne ordered. The transmission went out on all galactic frequencies. It included Marcus's medical data, scientific proof of the benefits of emotional healing, and personal stories from patients who had been transformed. Within hours, responses began coming in from across the galaxy. Some were angry messages from consortium-loyal governments demanding that the Concordia surrender immediately, but others were different. "This is Dr. Yeeth Mora, from the Andromedan Medical College," came one transmission. "We have reviewed your data. It is fascinating. We request permission to begin experimental emotional healing treatments." Another message arrived from a group of young Vakes doctors. "We want to learn these human techniques. Our people have been logical for too long. We are ready for change." More and more messages arrived. Scientists, doctors, and ordinary citizens from dozens of worlds expressing interest in emotional healing. Some even reported trying basic techniques based on Marcus's broadcast instructions. "It is working," Dr. Helio said excitedly. "The idea is spreading faster than the consortium can suppress it." But their celebration was cut short. The consortium fleet had arrived. Supreme Medical Director Zekala's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "Concordia, you have violated galactic medical law by spreading dangerous emotional contamination. Surrender, Dr. Chen, immediately, or we will board your vessel by force." Captain Thorne opened a channel to respond. "Director Zithkala, we have committed no crime. We have discovered a new form of medicine that helps beings reach their full potential. Emotions are not potential. They are chaos. They are weakness. They must be eliminated for the good of galactic civilization." Marcus stepped forward and activated his own communication link. "Director, with respect, you are wrong. Emotions are not weakness. They are strength. They are the key to unlocking abilities that pure logic cannot access. Human, you will be silenced. All beings you have contaminated will be cured of their emotional infection." "And what if they do not want to be cured?" Marcus asked. "What if they choose to keep their emotions?" There was a long pause. Then Zishela's voice returned colder than ever. "Choice is irrelevant. Efficiency is what matters. Logical order is what matters. You have until the next hour to surrender, or we will take you by force." The transmission ended. The consortium ships moved into attack formation around the Concordia. Marcus looked around the bridge at his friends and patients. They were all afraid, but they were also determined. They had tasted emotional life, and they would not give it up without a fight. "Whatever happens," Zara said quietly, "you have already won, Dr. Chen. The galaxy has heard our message. The idea of emotional healing will survive even if we do not." Marcus nodded, feeling proud and terrified at the same time. In trying to save one patient, he had started a revolution that would change the galaxy forever. The hour passed slowly. Marcus stood on the bridge of the Concordia, watching the consortium ships surround them. 5 massive vessels bristling with weapons, all pointed at their small exploration ship. Then something unexpected happened. "Captain," Communications Officer Terra called out, "we are receiving multiple incoming transmissions. Ships are approaching from hyperspace." On the main screen, new vessels began to appear. First one, then 5, then dozens. Ships from different worlds, different species, all converging on their location. "This is Captain Velter, of the Andromedan science vessel, Curiosity," came a voice over the radio. "We are here to support the Concordia and Dr. Chen's research. Fleonian medical ship, Healing Wind reporting. We stand with emotional healing. Vake's research vessel, New Thought arriving. We protect our transformed brothers and sisters." Marcus stared in amazement as more ships continued to arrive. Word of their broadcast had spread incredibly fast, and beings from across the galaxy had come to help. Supreme Medical Director Zeeth Kala's voice crackled over the communication system, sounding angry and confused. "Unknown vessels, you are interfering with official consortium business. Withdraw immediately, or face criminal charges." Captain Velter Terra of the Andromedan ship responded first. "Director Zithkala, we have reviewed Dr. Chen's medical data. His techniques represent a major breakthrough in healing and consciousness enhancement. We cannot allow you to suppress this discovery. Emotional contamination is not a breakthrough," Zithkala shouted. "It is a disease that threatens the logical order of civilization." Then a new voice joined the conversation, young and determined. "Director, this is Dr. Kalishin of the Vice Medical Academy. We have already begun using Dr. Chen's techniques on volunteer patients. The results are extraordinary." Marcus felt his heart skip. Other doctors were already trying emotional healing based on his broadcast. Dr. Kayla Shen, you are violating medical protocols, Seth Kayla warned. No, Director. We are advancing medical science. In the past 12 hours, we have successfully treated 15 patients using human emotional healing methods. Validations all show improved cognitive function, enhanced creativity, and stronger immune systems. More voices joined in. Doctors, scientists, and researchers from dozens of worlds reported similar results. They had all tried Marcus's techniques and found them to work exactly as described. This is impossible, Seth Kayla muttered. Emotions cannot improve medical outcomes. Logic is the only path to proper healing. Dr. Helio stepped forward on the Concordia's bridge and opened a communication channel. Director Zathala, may I present some scientific data for your consideration? Speak quickly, scientist. Dr. Helios transmitted brain scan data to all the ships in the area. These scans show neural activity in patients before and after emotional healing treatments. As you can see, logical brain regions remain fully functional, but previously dormant areas become highly active. The data was clear and undeniable. Emotional healing did not damage logical thinking. It enhanced it by adding new types of intelligence. Furthermore, Dr. Helios continued, genetic analysis shows that all galactic species originally possessed these emotional neural pathways. They were not removed by evolution. They were artificially suppressed through genetic modification thousands of years ago. This revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled fleet. For millennia, most species had believed that emotions were primitive traits they had naturally evolved beyond. You are suggesting that we made ourselves less capable on purpose? Asked Captain Valara. Exactly. In the pursuit of pure logic, galactic civilization accidentally crippled itself. Dr. Chen's emotional healing techniques restore natural capabilities that were lost. Zakala's voice was quieter now, less certain. Even if this data is accurate, emotions remain dangerous. They make beings unpredictable. They threaten social order. Marcus decided it was time to speak for himself. Director, may I ask you a personal question? Speak. When you became a doctor, why did you choose medicine? What was your original motivation? There was a long pause. When Zithkala answered, his voice sounded different, softer, more thoughtful. I wanted to help people to reduce suffering, to make the galaxy a better place. That desire to help, that is an emotion, Director. It is compassion. Without it, medicine becomes just a technical skill with no purpose. Another pause. Marcus could hear uncertainty in the director's silence. Zara stepped forward and activated her own communication link. Director Zutha, my name is Zara. I am Vex. 3 weeks ago I was like you, purely logical, emotionally suppressed. Dr. Chen's treatment awakened my dormant neural pathways. And you consider this an improvement? Seth Kayla asked. I consider it a miracle. For the first time in my life, I can feel joy when I see a beautiful sunset. I can feel satisfaction when I solve a difficult problem. I can feel love for my friends. These emotions do not make me weak or chaotic. They make me complete. Marcus watched the main screen as something remarkable happened. Some of the consortium ships began to pull back from attack formation. Their crews were listening to the conversation and starting to question their orders. Director came, a new voice from one of the consortium vessels. This is Dr. McTaurin, aboard medical enforcement ship Razor. I have been analyzing the data from the Concordia. The evidence for emotional healing is compelling. Dr. McTaurin, you will maintain position and await orders. Seth Kella commanded. Sir, with respect, I believe we may be wrong about emotional healing. I request permission to examine Dr. Chen's patients personally. More voices from the consortium fleet began expressing doubt about their mission. The crews had heard the evidence, seen the brain scans, and listened to patient testimonies. Many were starting to believe that emotional healing was real. Finally, Zeke Kayla made an announcement that surprised everyone. All ships stand down from attack positions. I'm coming aboard the Concordia to examine Dr. Chen's patients personally. An hour later, Marcus found himself in the medical bay with the most powerful medical authority in the galaxy. Supreme Medical Director Zeeth Kala was an imposing figure, tall metallic implants covering half his face called cybernetic eyes. But as Marcus demonstrated emotional healing techniques on volunteer patients, something changed in those cybernetic eyes. Your hand movements are deliberately imprecise, SmilHFY observed as Marcus treated a crew member with a minor injury. Yes, the slight trembling allows me to feel things that steady hands miss. It also releases stress hormones that help trigger neuroplasticity in the patient. SmilHFY watched closely as Marcus's patient, a young Syrian engineer, began showing emotional responses for the first time in his life. The engineer smiled, laughed, and expressed wonder at the new feelings flowing through his mind. Fascinating, SmilHFY murmured. The neural pathway activation is unlike anything in our medical literature. Over the next several hours, SmilHFY examined every patient Marcus had treated. He ran detailed scans, conducted interviews, and analyzed blood samples. The evidence was overwhelming. Emotional healing worked exactly as Marcus claimed. Finally, the director called for a private meeting with Marcus. Dr. Chen, I owe you an apology. For thousands of years, the medical establishment has been operating under false assumptions. We believed that emotions were primitive and dangerous. We were wrong. Marcus felt a wave of relief. Thank you, Director. But I did not discover this to prove anyone wrong. I just wanted to help my patients. And that motivation, that emotional drive to help others, is precisely what makes your medicine so effective. SmilHFY paused, looking thoughtful. Dr. Chen, I have a proposal. Yes. The Galactic Medical Consortium would like to offer you a position as Director of Emotional Healing Research. We want you to teach these techniques to doctors throughout the galaxy. Marcus was stunned. You want to make emotional healing official? More than official. We want to make it the new standard of care. Based on your results, emotional healing should be available to every being in the galaxy who wants it. 6 months later, Marcus stood in a lecture hall on the consortium's homeworld, teaching emotional healing techniques to doctors from hundreds of different species. The galaxy had changed dramatically since that day when his hand slipped while treating Zara. Emotional healing centers had opened on thousands of worlds. Beings who had lived their entire lives with only logical thinking were discovering joy, creativity, wonder, and compassion for the first time. Art, music, and literature flourished as species rediscovered their capacity for emotional expression. Not everyone chose emotional healing. Some beings preferred to remain purely logical, and that choice was respected. But for those who wanted to experience the full range of consciousness, the option was now available. After his lecture, Marcus returned to his quarters to find a message waiting for him. It was from Zara, who had become the first Valix doctor to specialize in emotional healing. Dear Dr. Chen, the message read, I wanted you to know that today I treated my 1000th patient, a young Valix who had never smiled in her life. When my hand slipped slightly during her treatment, just as yours did with me, she looked at me with the most beautiful smile I have ever seen. Thank you for teaching me that our imperfections are what make us perfect.